FlossTube friends, my name is Catherine. Welcome to my channel, welcome to my sewing room. This is my happy place and I'm so happy that you stopped by, and I'd like to thank you for inviting me into your happy place. So this is where I talk about my stitching. I have a lot of cross stitch to talk about today. I have some nail update on fingernail care. I talked about that a little bit on my last FlossTube, and I'd like to go through some of the tips I got from other people that I've adopted and helped a lot. So let's jump right in. Today is August 23rd. It's been a while since I filmed, and I wanted to make sure I got on here before the month was up. I have a couple of finishes, and I've got some new starts and plans and nail care update. So I'm going to start off by doing a giveaway. I did a giveaway my last FlossTube for this bag that I made. I call it my peekaboo bag because I have a section, just a small section of vinyl at the top, so it doesn't rub too much on your charts and do the bad things that vinyl can do sometimes. It's just a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on in there. And it has a couple of pockets in front, and that's about it. So this bag is going to go to, I did the random comment picker this morning, and it is going to go to, I'll put the name here, Char J57. Hey Char J57, you won the bag. So if you will please send me an email at stitchingincostume@gmail.com. I'll put the address across or down below. Please send me an email with your address, and I'll get this out to you ASAP. So congratulations, and thank you for everybody that left me such nice comments. I got so many happy birthday wishes. Thank you so much. And I got a lot of great tips on nail care. So thank you for stepping up and helping. And you just, I love this community more than you know. And let's see. So again, I'm not going to contact you, Char J, because I know that people are getting scammed. You guys know the drill. And if there are comments left by somebody saying, hey, you won, it's not me. I won't do that anymore. I've been tricked that way. I was watching, I was on Instagram, and I got a message from Carol Saltbox Stitcher, and I was like, oh, she's messaging me? What could I possibly tell her that she doesn't know already? And so it was about how I won something. I'm like, I don't remember putting in for it. She doesn't do giveaways that often, does she? Anyway, so I sent her a message, and she said, yeah, this is happening a lot now. So if you get things from me, it's not me saying you won, but sometimes I do send people Instagram messages asking for permission to post a picture or for advice on how to do things. So all right, so let's jump into FlossTube here. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about nail care. I had so many great comments, and I'm going to go through some of them here. Okay, so the last time I was talking about my nails, I was saying that I would like to do tutorials, but I feel like every time I look at my fingernails, I'm so horrified that I have such bad fingernails, and I know that that's all you're going to see when you see my hands doing things. And so I step back from doing tutorials, on how I finish things here and there. Not that I'm going to be doing tutorials all day long, but you know what I mean. I just get hesitant. And so I put the call out there for people to give me tips on what they do to keep your hands stitch ready. And that's really the most important thing for me, is trying to keep my fingernails from snagging on my silk or any kind of fibers, and keep them from splitting and doing all the things that my nails like do naturally. So some of the comments, I'm going to go through some of the things. So Kathy said gloves, you know, she wears gloves, and yes, I try to wear gloves when I do dishes. I don't always, but I know that I really should. I do wear gloves when I'm gardening, and it was Daylene from So Grateful that suggested that we keep an old bar of soap near our gardening supplies if you're a gardener, and you kind of rake your fingernails over the soap before you put your hands into your gloves, and then when you're done, you brush out the soap, and that cleans any residue that might get into your gloves. Mine always somehow get dirty, so that was a good tip. Emery board for nails, and Deb says, you know, emery board, and then she kind of goes around the skin. I'm sure it's a very light emery board that she's using, because it's like around my thumb sometimes I'll get like calluses, and so she was saying maybe try the emery board on the skin itself, and I have been doing that a little bit, and I have to say my skin looks a lot better on my fingers, so I'm really happy about that. Let's see, collagen for hair, skin, and nails, and Trim Healthy Mama's collagen, and she puts it in her coffee. So I have to check that out. I have not yet. I have tried collagen before in the past, and I didn't see a difference, but maybe at this point in my life it would help. And that was Tammy suggested that. Kim says the Naked Bee Lotion. I haven't tried that one, so I'm going to try that one too. Coconut to the cuticles at night, so coconut oil on the cuticles, and I have been doing coconut oil. It's good. Kim, I already got that. And Sarah, my friend Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot, says sugar scrub, and she uses something called Moonshine Mani cuticle oil. Now, I have to say, across the board, I think I got recommended cuticle oil probably more than anything else. I have not purchased cuticle oil, but I have been using coconut oil, just plain coconut oil, and that does seem to help to some degree, but I might be jumping into the cuticle oil here. So that one is a good one to try, recommended by Sarah. Tony says gummies for hair, skin, and nails. I haven't tried the inner supplements. That's something on my list. Marla cuticle oil cream, and she also switches off at night. So I think she does cuticle oil maybe one night, cream a different night. And I do have a good hand cream I'll recommend here. Marla says cuticle oil. Oh, that was Marla. Okay, so, and also keeping polish on the nails. Now that is a chore for me. I don't seem to have a lot of trouble keeping just a clear coat on my nails, but she also suggests putting it on the tips of your nails. So not just on the nail, but on the tip across the nail on top. And I have heard that before, and I do think that helps. So the problem is I seem to wear my polish off pretty quickly, so I've started to add it almost every other day is a polish day before I go out for a walk in the morning with the dogs. And that has helped a lot. So also Sarah says Orly products and Nailtrition and Nail Defense are fabulous. Don't have those yet, but I have other products that I'll recommend. And I'm not getting any, like, you know, I'm not endorsing anything. These are just things that people have suggested that works for them. So it's kind of like glean what you can what works for you, if you're looking for this kind of help. And there are some people that are like, nope, all I have to do is cut them. I'm like, oh, you're so lucky. Okay, so Rebecca says file nails in one direction. Now, I have heard that before, and absolutely it helps. I tend to just go, and the filing in one direction really makes a difference. And I guess it's kind of like, how your hair has, the cuticle of your hair, something about that, your nails are kind of similar. So if you do this, it kind of shatters that cuticle. But if you just go in one direction, it smooths it down and kind of closes the cuticle. So what I do, because it's hard for me my nails are so short, for me to like file it all in one direction, I'd kind of get to this side and kind of go, so I kind of go one direction this way, one direction that way, and then I just top it off on top. Does that make sense? Sin says Stitcher's lotion. I was like, what is Stitcher's lotion? So I went onto the internets and I found Stitcher's lotion on Hollis Hands Creates. Again, I purchased this. Nobody gave this to me. And I love it. So this is something that is really nice for, it doesn't coat your hands. It sinks into your hands. So you can put it on, and within a matter of seconds, you can pick up your needle and thread, and you're not going to feel like you're getting stuff all over everything. It just sinks right in, and it's nice, very nice. Hollis Hands Creates. I will link this below. Really liked it. So yes, thank you for that one, Sin. Okay, so here's what I use. That I have a couple of projects that I purchased after this. And I went on to Amazon, I was looking around, and I have actually used this before. This is Barielle. It's a nail treatment is what I get. And this is really good. Like I say, I've got one nail that just splits no matter what I do. And this mends it. So it doesn't really take it away. I have to keep applying it, but it does help a lot. If you have broken, this is a good one. And I thought just for fun, I'll get their version of just a, what is it called? It is called Perfect Plus Color. So this is supposed to protect and give you just a little bit of a color. So this is nice for me, it's like date night. That's the kind of, gone are the days of the red nails. And then I have this stuff. It's called MAVALA, and I got it on Amazon. It was kind of pricey. It seems like there's not a lot here, but it's actually, I've used this quite a bit, and it's hardly gone at all. So this is something I put on bare nails. So it's like every 3 or 4 days, I take all of the nail product off my nails at night, and I put this on. Now it dries almost immediately, and it doesn't look like it's got it doesn't have any shine or anything. It just kind of sinks into your nails, and it's supposed to make your nails stronger. So that works too, I think. Because I've been using all of this and that, it's hard to tell if one thing is the, end all be all for me, but the combination of what I've been doing so far has been helping, and I feel like my nails are less peely, less, catchy on things. And I also, another thing I use quite a bit is working hands. And this is something that you can get at the hardware store. Target has it too. I think I got this one at Target. It's a big one. And this is really nice. So this is something that I keep by the kitchen sink, and my husband uses it as well. And it, after I'm like washing dishes or something, I'll put this on. And again, this sinks in really quickly. This is not my, Stitcher's lotion is still like what I would stitch with immediately. This, it needs to soak in a little bit longer, but it's less greasy. It's not as greasy. It's nice. And the guys like it as well. So, whew, boy, 17 minutes in, and I haven't talked of any stitching, but you know, it all pertains to stitching, you know, so this is very important stuff. Our hands are our best tools. Okay, so let's dive in here. I would like to say a big thank you. First, I have to say thanks to Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot. She sent me a birthday gift, and it was so out of the blue and sweet of her to do. She sent me this fabulous bag. I didn't ask permission if I could show it, but Sarah, I'm showing this wonderful bag. I'm so thrilled. This is the fabric that she purchased in France when she went, and I could not be more thrilled with it. It is beautiful. She put this lovely zipper pull on that she made herself, beautifully made, lined with a bright yellow, perfect for sunny summer happiness. And she sent these glorious floss drops. They are beautiful, and she's made these as well. She has special skill because these are far above my, you know, talent level. She's really, really got that down. I love the hearts. So cute. And this beautiful bling. So pretty. Thank you, Sarah. You made my day. I love Stitchy friends, the best. Let's dive in here. Okay, I've got WIPS and I've got starts. I'm just going to randomly grab stuff here and see how fast I can go. I don't have a ton of stitching, but I do have some things here. So let's see. I'm going to start off with this. So this is a new start for me, and it was just kind of a wild hair. I was watching, like all of you and most of the world, watch Brenda and Laura, the serial starter. So when Brenda from Brenda and Laura showed the Ginnie Thompson flower threads, I thought, that's it. I need to pause the video and go over and get myself some flower threads. And I got over there, and of course the big assortment that she had purchased was gone. So I thought, well, you know, I have this sampler that I have wanted to start. Why don't I kit that up in the flower threads and start it? So this is something I found on eBay. I'm not really sure if it's in print anymore. It's got one of the old charts that has the photo on it. It's a Kathy Barrick. It's Mary Prentice 1831. And if you've watched me at all, you know that 1830s are my favorite. I love the symmetry. I love the alphabet at the top and the motifs at the bottom. It just makes me very happy, that kind of sampler. So on the back, there are all the DMCs listed as well as MPI silk. And so I went over to the Ginnie Thompson site, and they have a DMC conversion chart. So you can look up the chart and know what DMC equivalent the Kathy or the Ginnie Thompson flower threads are. So these are the threads I bought. This is the color palette. And the interesting things about these is they're thicker. So if you haven't heard about the flower threads, they are thicker than a DMC. So you only need, and they come off this in one strand, the card. So I just left them on the card. It's really quite handy. And you just pull it off and you stitch with it. So then I started to go through my fabric because I wasn't sure what fabric to use. I have to use a larger a larger weave, so I needed to go down and count. So like if you're familiar with linen, oh, so sorry, I forgot about the bird clock. Okay, we're safe. So if you're familiar with linen, if you're a linen stitcher, you know that a 28 count is a larger hole, right? bigger weave. And then the higher counts, the 40s, 46, the 56 and up, they're tiny. So I needed something that had more of an open weave. So I looked through my stash, and yes, I have 32, I have 28, but then I came across this piece of fabric. Let me see here. It says, I don't know, it says 30, count, question mark? So I had purchased it, and this was before I was writing on the piece of fabric itself what it could possibly be. So when I was going through my fabric stash and organizing, I didn't have this labeled. So at the time I thought, well, it looks like it could be 30 count. I don't know why I thought that. So I grabbed this. I have a feeling this is a piece of Lakeside, and it feels like vintage exemplar to me. It's not light exemplar. I think it's vintage exemplar, and the weight of it and all of the texture of the linen feels like that. But let me hold it up for you so you can see what I got done with the flower threads. That is my start. I worked through the top. There's a couple mistakes, but that's okay. I'm gonna live with them. And now I am done with her name, and I have one more line of her age and a couple of initials, and then I get to go down into the motifs. Let me see if I can hold it back a little bit. Isn't that beautiful fabric? I have quite a bit of it, so I have plenty to do another smallish sampler with this flower thread, and I'm really loving it. This turns out to be my evening stitch now. I started it probably 2 weeks ago, and I pick it up at night when I'm sitting and we're watching TV, and I'll put in a couple of strands and then put it down and end up watching. We're all into The Blacklist now with James Spader, which has been really fun. It's kind of gruesome, so dip your toe in slowly if you're into it's like a crime drama and a whodunit kind of a thing, and so it's something that we've been watching. But sometimes I end up doing this because I can't I can't take the first 5 minutes, and they try to shock you at the first part. But anyway, that's my nighttime stitch. All that to say that. And yes, to the flower threads, I will be using them more. Now, I do find sometimes that I kind of miss the sheen of the DMC and the silk, but it has a very primitive look, and it has a dated, like, not dated from this century, but it has a primitive, like, turn of the century kind of feel to me. It almost has a wool feel, but it's not, it's cotton. Anyway, yes to the flower threads. Let's go on. I'm gonna show this one. This is a work in progress that I worked very little on, and I almost didn't want to show it because I feel like I should be way done with this by now, but I'm not. This is one of my favorite samplers of all time. It's the MMEW 1847, and you can still find this on the secondary market. I have seen it on eBay, and it's by Samplers and Such. And it's not the best picture. I don't know what it was about the picture that I loved, but I loved it, and I sure love this sampler. I'm doing this on Vintage Light Exemplar, a 40 count. And I'm using my own thread conversion. It's a lot of crazy going on here. I don't know if I have the start date. No. I started it in 2020. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been pulling from. And let me show you where I am on it. It's a big one. And I'm at the top. I got all the motifs at the bottom done. And now I'm working my way up, and of course I saved the eyelet alphabet for last. And so I'm still working on it, but it's getting there. Let you look at it for a moment here. Let's see how the colors are. It feels like that's about the warmth of the fabric. And I've changed colors all over the place. I'm just kind of grabbing whatever speaks to me, adding motifs here and there. I added that little cat there and the corgi, and I probably will add one more cat. Just having fun with it. It's been really fun. I've got a cartouche. The cartouche I think needs an initial in it, and I've got the scripty alphabet, and I still have quite a bit of eyelet. And then after the eyelet, after the alphabet at the top is a lot of motif, a lot more motifs you can see. So I've got my work cut out for me still, and I'm not gonna worry. I know it will get done, and probably will get done this year. But you know how it is. It's like a squirrel happens. There's already things that I want to start for Sampler September that I have no business starting. They're enormous, but you know what? If I don't start it now, then when? So, MMEW. I'll get there. Okay, Florence married Dickinson. Now this is one of those, had to have it, and I'm very glad I had to have it. It's, I think was through Hobby House Needleworks. I don't think they have it anymore. And it's by Hands Across the Sea. And a lot of people have finished it. I am using the Victoria Clayton silks. I'm doing this on a 40 count vintage pearled barley by Lakeside. I'll show you in a second, but I love the silks. And I was talking to my friend Patty. Hi Patty. And she was asking, how do you feel about the Vicky Clayton silks on 36 count? And I do like them. I think they're great on 36 count. They're not going to give you the same coverage as you would get from, say, a Navarre Soie. Soie d'Alger that has a more puffy look, more full, but it's nonetheless, it's still so gorgeous. I did Ann Morrison with the Vicky Clayton silks on a 36 or 37, and it was beautiful. And I think I did Jessie Watson the same, and it is a little, just a hair of a lighter coverage, but it's gorgeous. So this is it on 40 count, and like I said, this is vintage pearl barley that I got this fabric from Needle in a Haystack in Alameda, California. So if you're looking for Lakeside Linen, try calling around. I know Traditional Stitches up in Canada has it on their website. I know you can go there and get it, and I'm pretty sure the Attic Needlework, I'm sure they have some, and Needle in a Haystack is where I got it. So let me quit yapping and show it to you. It is so pretty. So I have worked down this side and gotten down to that bottom motif, which is a big bouquet, and that is August's assignment, is to finish that bouquet. And I've been remiss. I have outlined the ribbon so I can fill that in, but this is definitely one of those stitches that I have to use. I have to have it on my Q-snap or in a Nurge hoop. I'm going to show you in a sec too. I've got a Nurge that I like, and I like to use two-handed stitching, especially on a 40 count, and I need to open that weave a little bit, so I do need quite a bit of tension on it. I don't like to stitch in hand with this, and by stitching in hand I mean a hoop and my hands, and that's how I do it at night. But in the morning or during the day when I stitch, I'm two-hand stitching. It goes very fast for me. I have a lot of control with my tension, and I can make my stitches look a lot better. So this is where I am on that. Will I catch up for August? I'm not sure, but we'll see. I'm gonna give it a go. This will go back on my morning stitch, and that's where I do stand up in the morning quite often, and I will do stitching in my green room in the morning. And I have a setup where I stand up and stitch, and I have a magnifier that goes up high enough, and I'm not terribly tall. I'm like 5'4", so for me, being able to stand up and still use a magnifier is a doable thing for sure. If you want more information on that, do make a comment and let me know, because I'm happy to do a video of me doing that. And you can see how I do the stand-up stitching. And the reason I started doing that is because I do have a back injury that it's hard for me to sit for any length of time. And very often if you see me doing FlossTube, I'm standing up doing FlossTube. I do have a little stool that I'm using today just so I don't fidget quite as much. But it's a lot easier for me to stand if I know it's going to be an hour or so. And when I'm stitching, I've talked about this before, if I am sitting, which I do during the day, I have a new acquisition for me is the Lowry stand. And I had a different way to do two-handed stitching, but I got the Lowry stand to try out and I love it. It's a floor stand. I have my Nurge Hoop on it that's really quite big. I'll show you in a second, and I can flip it easy. It's a godsend. I love the Lowry. So I'll be sitting quite often in the afternoon when I'm up here in my sewing room, and I'll be stitching, and I don't do it every time, but every few threads I pull, like every second or third, I stand up as I'm threading, and that just gives me a little bit of relief. I might walk around a little bit, and my watch will tell me stand up. So that's what I do. I listen to my Apple Watch. What else do I have here? I don't want to lose things. Okay, so let's go with this, because I was just talking about my Lowry stand and the Nurge Hoop. Now, if you're not familiar with a Nurge, N-U-R-G-E, you can find it on Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive. They work quite well for a Lowry stand because just the way that how thin they are. So if you're a Q-Snap user, you might want to try this. This is a really cool gizmo, and I got quite a big one. I'm going to show you. This is ES Spot Sampler. I got this from the 1884 Stitchery. Let me show it to you. I saw Celeste Creates did a finish of this, and I know Carol Saltbox Stitcher, I think, shows it sometimes in her video, and I love it. I just love it. This is not the best picture because I got the PDF download and I printed it on my computer. But let me show you this gorgeous, gorgeous color palette I have. This is my friend Barbara, the Raspberry Stitcher. Hi, Barbara. She gave me these floss drops. We did a trade. So these are for my ES Spot motif sampler. And I used the called for flosses. I think I subbed out the red, and I'm going to talk about that. No, did I? I maybe did not. Let me pull the floss chart out here so I can make sure I give you the correct information. Did I change it? No, I have not changed Turkish red. That is the red called for. I think I used all the called for flosses, but I have kind of changed things up, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So anyway, quit yapping. This is 30, let me make sure I give it to you correctly. I've got 40 count platinum. Boy, I'm glad I write things. I have these tags on my floss drops, and I write down what I'm using. So this is a 40 count platinum. Oh, look at that. I left a dangling thread there. Oh well. We'll just deal with it. And that's where I am on it. I picked it up, and I got some of the motifs put in. I did change, this was supposed to be, the dog was in white, and I just feel like this is the whitewash, the week's whitewash. I know it on the chart itself, it blends in, but which I kind of am okay with that blending in. But the dog, I wanted to see the dog, so I changed the dog to one of the orange colors, because you know I have orange corgis. These dogs don't look like corgis, but it's orange. So, and I have 2 dogs, so there they are, and the birds. And you can see the bird has whitewash on it, on its breast, but it looks very pretty. I love the tulips. I'm in love with the carnations. I can't tell you how I love the colors on this fabric. It's beautiful. This platinum, you can find, it's very inexpensive. You can find on 1, 2, 3 Stitch usually. Sometimes they sell out of it because it is so wonderful for samplers. It gives you such a nice clean background. I do love mottled linen. I have a lot of it, but sometimes I just want to see the design and I just want to see the colors sing together, and these colors are so fresh and beautiful that it really works well. So this is where I am on ES Spot, and again, this is a Nurge Hoop. So what I do is I put the winding mechanism at the top, and I clamp it to my Lowry stand on this side, and I can clamp it up here or clamp it down here. Those Lowry stands hold things so well. So yes, this has been what I've been working on the last couple of days, and just love it. And I will link Nurge Hoops in the drop down below if you're interested in checking it out on Amazon, or you just go over and type it in. And they have lots of different sizes. I got a really big size, which, I mean, it's nice because I can see the whole, this is a small sampler and I can see the whole thing. But the challenge also, when you use such a large size, because I don't have my Lowry stand actually on my table, I have it in front of my table, and then I have a magnifier that rests on the table. So sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge if I have the work up here to get underneath there and get close enough. But I don't know. That's what I did. I mean, you can turn it sideways too, so it just depends on what you like. But they make them in little smaller sizes. I think I got the biggest one I could. Let's go on, shall we? You might see me pause here and there to kind of reorganize, but I'm going to jump right into the next one. Sampler stocking. Now this is something I saw on a couple of people have been showing stockings, and I know that Angie the Tiny House Stitcher and I think Michelle Hudson from Sacramento, California, were doing summer stocking sale. I believe they started it last year, and I wanted to jump in on it right away. I think I started this one a couple of months ago. I also saw this on Christy. Daisy K Primitive is also doing it. Hi Christy, if you happen to be watching. Love your channel and I love your stitching. And she just did a back deck with her husband. That's just gorgeous. It looks like heaven. So I made a couple changes to this. I guess I should show you the chart. So this is Carriage House Samplings has quite a few stockings, and they're not just for Christmas. This one is the sampler stocking, and a lot of people have done this. I love, love, love it. I'm using a big piece of, let me tell you what I'm using here. 36 count parchment by Weeks Dye Works, and I'm using the called for flosses for this. But I did kind of make one substitution I'll talk about in a second. Let me show you where I am on it. I've got all the eyelets, and I did Smyrna crosses for the eyelets because I was done with eyelets this year. I'm doing so many. I didn't want to do yet another one, and the Smyrnas go really fast. Look at how long this is. Oh! And it's going to be a lot longer, actually, the stocking. I'm probably halfway through, so I have quite a bit more to go. Anyway, that's where I ended up. So let me go from the top through the alphabet, lovely bird, and what I'm referring to is the Adam and Eve. So what I changed is on him, I did a couple of things. So he was supposed to be all white, his face, and he didn't have any hair. So I gave him some hair, and then I gave him a blue necktie, and I used I'll talk about what I used in a second, but I just did lazy daisy stitches on his, to make his necktie. I did 1, 2, 1, 2 lazy daisies, and it works. And then for her, I changed her dress to make it look more like the 1830s dress. And I gave her that crazy hair. So I gave her a little bit more droppy hair on the side, and I put the crazy top knot on top. If you are interested in what that is, I talk about that in one of my FlossTubes. At the end, I talk about crazy hair from the 1830s, and I have crazy hair from the 1830s that I pin to my head sometimes, and when I'm playing around in costume. And then I made her dress a little bit different. I gave it more of a bell shape, and I gave her red boots, which I just liked the idea of red shoes, and added blue stripes. So the blue, let me talk about that for a second. The floss that I used for his breeches is Gentle Arts dungarees. I just felt like I wanted to do, sorry, there was just a momentary earthquake on my on my table. It was just on my table. Okay. That's why I need to stay seated. Okay, so we've got the dungarees, and that is for his pants and his necktie, and then it's also for any blue accents I added to her. I wanted her neckline to stand out a little bit, and so I added the blue around her neckline, and I gave her blue stripes on her dress. I haven't added any red, it calls for red berries or something on the on what she's holding, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. I might just leave it green sprigs of pine or something. So that's where I am on that. What else did I do? I subbed the vines. I used instead of what they called for, I used piney woods, because what they called for looked way too brown, and I wanted it to be just a little bit greener. So that's what I did for wherever that brown color for the vines is. I subbed piney woods from the Gentle Arts. That's it. So if you're interested in jumping in on the summer stocking sale hashtag on Instagram, please hashtag so we can follow along if you're doing that. It doesn't have to be one of these huge stockings. It could be any stocking. I know, I just downloaded, I don't know if you did Common Threaded Stitcher on Instagram. I put it on this past weekend. I put on the first one. I participated in that first day of Introduce Yourself, and then it was a crazy weekend, so I let the rest of it slide. But I know that I was watching Elizabeth Ann Ken Stitch yesterday, and she talked about Judy, I'm going to put it here, JBW Designs has a design that she offered for free for anybody participating in the Common Threaded Stitcher. It's one of her little stockings that she has designed in red work. It is adorable. I will put a picture here. You can get your own copy if you go to the Common Threaded Stitcher on Instagram. Follow that. And then if you click the link in the Common Threaded Stitcher on their landing page, then it will take you to the free charts that were offered. And there's one by Liz Matthews from last year that she did, and the one from Judy from JBW. So I've never done a Judy design before. I'm really looking forward to doing that for sure. That's a little side note. Okay, another new start for me. I saw this, I think it was Kathy from Linen and Scraps with Molly and Kathy, and she showed the Jane Parsons sampler. I think she did the model stitch for that. And it is the originals in wool. So I really wanted it, and every time I went on to get the kit, it was sold out. And I thought, well, I could get the chart, and I thought, well, I'll just wait, you know, she might get the kits back in. So I got a notification saying kits are in for flower thread, and so I jumped over there, and by the time I got there, it was gone already. And I was like, So I sent Brigitte a note and said, please, is there some way for me to pre-order? I really want to stitch this. Is there some way for me to pre-order it? And she said, well, I have one wool kit left. Would you care for that? And I said, yes, send me the wool kit. So I got it. I love it. Love, 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 love. And I know Shelly from the Antique Needleworkers, Shelly and Liz, Shelly was talking about it and how much she loves the wool. It's amazing. I'm just loving trying these new fibers. I have never stitched with flower thread or wool before, so this is just so exciting for me. Anyway, I got to start. This is on 28 count, 28. It came with the kit, and that's where I am. I'm going to show you the wools in a second, but let me just show this to you. Now, this fabric, it's not mottled. It's kind of a light tanny color. It's a little warmer than it's showing here. 28 count, 1 strand of wool over 2 linen threads. It's a loose weave. Boy, is this simple. I mean, it's so easy to see the weave. It's so easy to stitch with. It was a little bit of a learning curve at first because the wool is a little bit, I want to call it bouncy. So when I started to stitch with it, it just felt like, and I ended up putting it on drops. And I even went as far as to message Kathy Bourne on Instagram, and I said, how do you work with this? Do you how do you put your wool on? How do you pull it? You know, do you leave it on because it comes wrapped up? I said, do you put it on floss drops? Do you want bobbin? What do you do? And I thought I had to bobbinate it, which really bummed me out. And what I ended up doing is just putting it on the floss drops. I thought, you know, it's my project. I want to be able to access this easily, and if I have to bobbinate it and pull things off, and it just didn't appeal to me. So I really wanted to do it this way. I might bobbinate in the future, but this works great. They're a little bit longer lengths. So what I do, let me see if I can show you really quick. When I do longer lengths, I have this ruler that is an omni grid. It goes up to 18 inches. So I wanted it to be 18 inches long, and it's a little bit fiddly, but I wind it around here. Be careful as you're going, and then you snip, and then you get 18-inch lengths. And so that's what I've been working with for Jane Parson 1841, and I like it. So that's where I am with it. Again, I think this was part of Colorado Cross Stitcher. I believe this is what I did. I chose to do something that I had never done before, and this was it. I'm pretty sure that's what I started. It could have been the flower threads, but I honestly don't remember at this point. I'm not going to finish either one, so we'll see. We'll see if I'm in the running for anything, but look at how pretty. Really soft, pretty colors. Okay, so very excited about my new start with that. And I think I haven't checked lately. The Wishing Thorn, I will link her below, offers kits with this. And so I did get the kit, which meant she sent me everything. I got the chart, I got all of it, because I don't have the best printer. I mean, it's a good printer, but we were out of ink and I just didn't want to print it at home. So I bought it through her. Anyway, she's very nice. Very excited that I had that. Okay, one more of my WIPS, and then I'm gonna pause for a sec and move on to something else. So this is in a bag. This is Dickinson. Oh my gosh, I should not even show this because I didn't work on it very hard. This is a bag I made. And, but I'll show you. Dickinson, and I started this a long time ago. I don't even know, but again, it's one of those samplers that has the alphabet at the top and motif at the bottom, and I think Carol, the Saltbox Stitcher, was talking about that as well, that's what she likes, and I'm really drawn to those samplers. I don't know what it is. It's so much fun because you have like this business at the top, but these are all different colors, which is fun for me, and then the party at the bottom. So let me show you where I am. This is on, let me make sure I get that information out to you. It is Scattered Seed Samplers, 36 count Dusty Road by Seraphim. Love that fabric. And I've got the called for width, but I subbed out the red. The red I'm using is, let me see if I can, Soie Cristal. It's a silk, number 2013. And that's what it looks like. It's kind of a bright red. It's definitely a bright red. And I would say it's more, it leans more to the orangey red, more of a fire engine red. And this is where I am on it. So I've got the border outlined on this 36 count Dusty Road, and got the top part done, and now I'm on motif time. So I started at the bottom, and this is something that I will take to the pool. And when I have, you know, when I'm not running dogs around in circles, I'm stitching and talking. So that's where I am on it. Not very, I still have to go, but that part at the top is done. So those are my WIPS. I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to kind of clean up a little bit, and then I'm going to show you my finishes that I've done. I'll be right back. Okay, here I am. I'm back. I've kind of cleaned up a little bit, and I am going to show you one more WIP in progress. So this is something that I joined in kind of late to the game. Susan Standley, A Stitch in Time, is doing a quilt along, but she's doing a quilt along for a doll quilt. And if you're following along with that and stitching on that, you know what a great, awesome teacher she is. She explains everything very clear and gives really great up-close views of what she's doing. So I joined in. I have so much fabric. I thought, well, I'm going to participate. I've never done any hand piecing. Everything is sewn by hand. You don't have to. You can use a sewing machine if you want to, and put your pieces together that way. But if you want to join in and learn how they did it back in, let's see, the 1840s, then Susan's got some great tips for you. So let me show you where I am with this. I just started last week, you can start anytime. I will link it below. There's no deadline, and the videos will be up forever on her channel. So you can join in if you feel like it. So I'm doing a little doll quilt too for my little doll up there I found at the thrift store. She looks like she's probably from that time period, 1840s, maybe 50s. And she's not old. She's a reproduction, but I thought, well, it'd be fun to have a little doll quilt there. So my fabric I got, I can't even remember where I got this. I think I got it at the thrift store. I could be wrong. I just had a little charm pack of something called Nurture by Moda. Nurture. And this is some of the colors. It looks kind of like that Civil War reproduction-ish vibe. I could be wrong about that. I am no expert when it comes to quilt fabric. I do love fabric, and I love history, but I don't know, I haven't really applied it to quilting as much as I have costuming. But hey, you know, there we go. So this has got a really pleasant palette. And this is what I've done so far. I just got one little 4-piece done that I have thread on that I do. And my center kind of met up. It's not perfect, and you can see the back. It's all hand stitched, and I know I'm going to get better at it, and it is it's really enjoyable. It's very relaxing. And Susan actually has a FlossTube where she just talks about her character Mary, that is the inspiration, her jump off point for teaching us this stitching method, and at the same time giving us some history. And so if you have a desire to learn that, or if you have a young person in your life that would like to learn how to do some stitching by hand, this is a great therapeutic thing to do, and you don't have to be experienced at all to jump in and learn how to thread a needle and put that thread into fabric. So you can go try that as well. So that is called the, let me make sure I get this right, Susan Standley First Stitches Experience. And I believe that's the hashtag on Instagram if you're following along or would like to. So here is my first finish I'd like to share with you. I don't have the chart with me, but it is by Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery, and it is called Betsy's Summer Pin Keep, or Betsy's Summer Basket Pin Keep. And this is my finish. It's on a 36 count needle and flax dirty teacup, using the called for flosses, and I truly love it. It was a challenge, and there are some mistakes in it, but because the greenery is not symmetrical, it's very forgiving. Like I said, I used the called for flosses, but I changed it out so that these little flowers were a darker, they were one of the darker colors that I pulled in because they were disappearing on my linen. I love Dirty Teacup. It's my new kind of favorite. I love, love, love it. You can kind of see, let's see if we can pull it back here. Seems like it's kind of big for a pin keep, but I was on the Across the Pond Zoom chat, and I went on and on about pin cushions. Angie, the Tiny House Stitcher, was saying that pin cushions sometimes were big, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I started to talk about historical costuming and how they used to pin their clothing together because they didn't have all the fasteners that we have, and buttons were precious and hard to get. So a lot of them were pinned together, pin, all through the early, the 1400s all the way up through the 1800s. There was pinning used during that time too, but definitely in the earlier times you had a lot of them. So I thought, well, I could make this into a pin cushion. I would really love to do a mattress pin cushion finish on it. I think that would look fabulous, but I've never done one. And I'm a little nervous, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get that one figured out. But that was finish number 1. Finish number 2 is a Blackbird design, Sweet Summer Come Again. And I bought the chart. This was my cross stitch camp July. So I finished that into this little drum. I used the Blackbird sampler fabric. I just a motif off that to give it that movement. And I made these little counting pins. I found these little strawberries, glass strawberries on, where was it? Amazon. A dozen of them for, I don't know. They're not the best. They're not great, but they're cute. So I made these little counting pins just by gluing them onto corsage pins with some other pins that I had in my stash. I used the called for floss, and I think the finish turned out really well. I followed Vanna Pfeiffer's tutorial on drum finishing, and I did a herringbone stitch around the top there, and voila! What did I do it on? It was a mystery piece of linen. I believe it was a 36 count something brown. It doesn't have a lot of like movement or color in it. It is just slightly mottled. I can't remember. It was something that I had in my stash from a long time ago, a small piece of it. My last finish is from Prairie Schooler Angels, and this was for the Any Angel Sal hashtag. I'll put it here, that I did with Angie, the Tiny House Stitcher, Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot, and Michelle Hudson from Sacramento, California. And Michelle Hudson is the one that kind of started it because she finished this, and then Angie is a finisher, and she fully finished it, and she did a beautiful job. And so when I saw that, I thought, oh, well, that's what I want to stitch. So we came up with the idea to start a sal based around angels. So if you're stitching anything that has an angel, and a lot of our samplers do, and then Christmas in July, so Christmas ornaments, all of that, you can stitch an angel too. So I used the Prairie Schooler from, you can find this still, it's not out of print, it's on 123 Stitch, I believe it's book 29. I'll put it down below right here where it's from. And I love it. I did substitute some of the colors. I used a toile, so I don't know if you're going to be able to tell. It's a DMC, a sparkly thread, but it doesn't always read as being sparkly. You can kind of see it a little bit. And then I followed Katie Strachan's tutorial for the beaded edging, and I used tiger tape so that I could count, space it a little bit more evenly. It's still not perfect, but hey, it's on there, and that's what counts. And it looks good from a distance, and if you shake your head. And the back is got some red silk I had in my stash of scraps from some costuming thing, and that's it. So I used a mat board to put this on. I did put a black felt underneath it so it wouldn't show through the mat board. And then for the red on the back, I used that comic book cardstock you can get on Amazon for next to nothing for a bunch of it. So that's what I used for this. And again, I put a felt on, and then I covered this one, got glued onto the comic book cover. This one, I laced it. And then I sewed the two together. Actually, I did the beaded edging first, and then I sewed it together. I just thought it would be easier for me to do it on that on that front part, but I don't know if it makes a big difference. And then I just took a small piece of Krennic cording that I had, teeny tiny, so it really just, the cord just kind of disappears and it kind of hovers there. Love it, love it, love it. Everybody I show it to, my family is like, woo! My daughter loves it, so I'm pretty jazzed that I got that done. And I might do the others. I still have, it's an 18 count black Aida, which was very stiff and not my most favorite, but if you rinse it, it gets the sizing out of the Aida and makes it less cardboardy. So I recommend doing that. I didn't do that until I finished it, and then I rinsed it, because sometimes if you have a hoop, it leaves grime marks. That's why they have grime cards, and as much as I wash my hands, I still put lotion on, and it does leave residue sometimes on a blacker fabric. So I did wash that, and it made the fabric, the Aida, a lot nicer. So now I know. That is all my finishes. I'm going to go into a little bit of stash acquisition, and I really don't have very much, and then I've got a plan, so let me bump right into that. So when I was on the site at Hollis Hands, I'm always looking for Gloriana Schoolhouse Red with the Gloriana, what is it, Belsois? No, it's just Gloriana 12 strand silk, and she did not have Schoolhouse Red, but she did have crimson. So I got some crimson, which is beautiful, and I got poinsettia, 2 reds, which it's really hard when you put them next to each other. I don't think you really see a huge difference. This one looks a little bit orangier. This one has a little bit more of a blue to me. This one's, they're both beautiful. So I got those 2 reds as well. And then I was at a local shop that doesn't really carry. I have gone in there to the Auburn Needlework store and asked for Schoolhouse Red for them to order it, and they said sure, but they haven't gotten it in. So I did pick up another poinsettia from them, and that's pretty. Poinsettia is nice, and it has a good variegation. I also got some Gloriana, what is this called, charcoal. It's just a nice alternative to a black. It's not quite as stark. And then I got an India ink, so you can see those 2 together. The charcoal has a lot more variegation. Very pretty. And while I was in there, they had this, one of the Soie Cristal. It's by Keratin, and it's a 12-ply silk, and I just got this color. It just has a number 0057 because I wanted a warm white in the 12-strand silk that would pop a little bit. So I don't know what I'm going to use any of those for, but I have a lot of projects that I can tuck them into. And then I joined the Color and Cotton Floss of the Month, and I haven't done that before. I have done their fabric for a while, and then I put in a notification on their site when they had a slot opened, and they had one open up for the 5 colors. So that's what I got for autumn. Look at that, isn't it pretty? I didn't want to take it out of the plastic because it's just so darned gorgeous. And again, don't know what I'm going to use it for. Probably, I don't know, I'd like to do something out of the Blackbird Designs Winds of Autumn book. So maybe I can substitute some of these in with that. I love the Color and Cotton fibers. They're so, they're just good. They're smooth. They have a good sheen, and they also, they feel like they have good coverage. So I got that. I also got onto Tropical Stitches, and you know I like to do my fabric of my own fabric club. So I got 40 count Andriana. Got a fat quarter of that. And that is a beautiful sampler fabric. Yeah, it's warm, a little warmer. It's beautiful, very subtle. Don't know what I'm going to use it for, but it is pretty. It has a very fresh feel to it. So you can go onto Tropical Stitches. She's on, she has her own website, and I don't think she sells on Etsy anymore. I could be wrong about that. Maybe she is on Etsy, but she's kind of scaled back a little bit and dyes as she feels like dyeing. So I get that. All right, I've got another piece of fabric. So this is a new fabric dyer that is in the stitching group that I belong to for the Love of Stitches in Sacramento, California. And we had a meetup, and I was so thrilled that we have a new dyer in our midst. And her name is, the name of the shop is Those Missing Stitches. I'm going to show you the fabric. I left it in the plastic. Sorry for the crinkling, but I'm going to take it out. I got this, and I showed it on Instagram, because I'm like, you know, we need to support these new dyers. She does an incredible job. This is the mailer it comes in. She's very organized. And that is the name of her shop, Those Missing Stitches. I got a piece of 36 count, 40 count. I got 40 count. It's called Darling David. It's a Zweigart base. And it has a little bit of, just a little movement. It's not, really splotchy, but it's beautiful. I'm going to hold it up with some other fabric so you can kind of see how it looks compared to a couple other colors. Beautiful. Those Missing Stitches, very affordable, very good shipping, very fast. I jumped on after I posted it. I saw a lot of people going over to order from her, and I thought I better get on there and order some more. So I got another piece. I haven't got it yet. It's called Enchanting Eleanor, and she names her, I believe they're characters in books. I think it's David Copperfield that this is named after, which is fun. So go check her out, and let me see here. Let me compare it to a couple of things. So this is the Adriana by Tropical Stitches, and this is the Darling David. That's what I just showed. And this is the Tropical Stitches, which has got a little bit more browny gray. The modeling is very similar in terms of how much modeling and movement you have going on. Let's see here, what else can I show it with? This is, just because I have it here, Dirty Teacup. And that is Darling David next to Dirty Teacup. So it feels like it's maybe a little bit lighter than Dirty Teacup. And there we go. So that is the fabric haul. And what will I do on this? I pulled this because I thought this would be fun for Sampler September. It's just a tiny little sampler by, this is Leela Studio. I've never done a Leela Studio that I can recall. And I thought this would look really pretty with it. These are the flosses. So that would look gorgeous. So that's what I think I'm going to start with. I don't know, it's hard to cut into fabric. Oof. When you have a small thing, you think, oh, don't I have a piece of small fabric somewhere? It's hard because once you cut into it, you're like, oh, I could have done this bigger project on it. And I also saw that Nicola Parkman posted, I think she had an Instagram post about a new product she has. So I had to run on and get them. So she sells them in, these are bags, like shopping bags made of canvas. And then both sides are printed with the samplers that she has. It's very similar to her tea towels that sell out immediately as well. But you can pre-order now. You can go on her site and pre-order things so you know you're going to get it. And then this comes with 3. I have not even opened these because I'm trying to not be so greedy and perhaps give gifts away to people instead of holding on to all these things and being so, but it's hard. I knew I wanted this one because it had the red house on it. And so yeah, Nicola Parkman. I think that's all I have to show today. Do I have anything to share? You know, I do. I wanted to talk about plans. So I've got some plans for Sampler September. You know, I love samplers. I love the historical reproductions. They light my spirit up. I just think they're so cool. So I have a couple here I'm going to talk about possible starts. And I have, I wanted to start off with this. I don't have it kitted, but I love this Miss Sampler. It is just gorgeous by the Scarlet House. I think this is probably my favorite Scarlet House. And every time I see the flosses for it, I think that must be wrong. You know, I go on to like Vicky Clayton hand-dyed fibers thinking I'll just get her floss pack for it. And I look at the floss pack and I'm like, it's all brown and gold. But it's not. There's like this red is sprinkled around and it really is beautiful. The color palette is gorgeous, but I keep getting stalled out thinking it's not colorful enough. But it is. I need to just trust that it will be pretty. I feel like I should order the flosses and then pick the fabric from there because I feel like I want a darker fabric because of all the white that's on there. So that is on the menu. I also have, this one is almost fully kitted. I have all the flosses for Lucy Barber. This was a gift from my son-in-law for Christmas, and I would really like to start it. I have all the DNC floss that I have yet to bobbinate, and I don't have fabric picked out for it, but I have some good fabric choices in my stash now. So that might be a start for Sampler September. This one is a high contender because I love it so. I got this from my friend Angie, who is on Instagram. I'll put her handle here. And she has some really wonderful finishes. And so she had this and brought it to one of our stitching meetups and asked if I wanted to buy it. And I said, yes, I do. So this is Birds of a Feather Happy Heart Sampler. And it's out of print. So I was lucky to get it. I got all of the WIPS dye works. I don't have a fabric picked out for it yet. Oh, yes, I do. What I pull? I think it will work. This is by Rogue Stitching. It's called Bee's Knees. And I just thought it had that same kind of feel that the picture has. A little bit darker. This one is maybe a little bit more mottled than the picture. But maybe not. I think it was done on a fabric that they dyed specifically, Birds of a Feather, for their project. So it's just a matter of making sure that all of the floss colors work on that fabric. So I might have to go with a darker fabric, but I don't know. That feels like I want to start that for Sampler September, and it feels like it's not huge. So I should be able to not finish it this year, but maybe faster if I work on it than other things. Okay, a couple more here. So this is one more I'm thinking of starting for Sampler September. In fact, I think it's probably a given that I'm going to be doing this. This was by Whilst Iris Naps Designs, and this was a chart that you could only get through Needle. Oh, it's on Facebook. I'm going to put the group here, and it is just beautiful. You can't get this anymore. It was through Hobby House Needleworks, and it came with a bag that had the flosses. I got the Weeks Dye Works floss palette. Let me see here. Yeah, I should have. It's called Mary Gypsum. It's for the Homespun Needlework Facebook group. There, I got it there. And this is the beautiful linen by Needle and Flax called Thornfield. So I think my first stitches will go in on September 1st. Very pretty. And I have it in a ginormous bag. And it came with this fun bling. There's a little house. There's one more sampler I wanted to add in. I am hoping to start in September. We'll see. We'll see. I'm one of those people that follows the Tudor House Stitcher, Sally, on Instagram, and she has so many amazing projects that she works on. I believe Sally is a monogamous stitcher. She does really epically beautiful, big samplers. And I'm going to put a picture of her finish of Jane Ballard right here. It inspired me to go to 1884 Stitchery and purchase it. So I'm still waiting for it to come. I'll probably kit it up in DMC. We'll see. And then try to pick some fabric from my stash. But Sally's finish is just beautiful, and she gave me permission to put a picture here. Please go check her out. I will put her Instagram handle here as well, and look at her finishes. She's just so great. If you're not following her already, you probably are. She wanted me to make sure I mentioned that this was very much an adaptation that she did. So she changed up, I believe, quite a bit of it. She, I think, did cross stitch, like recharted some of it that was supposed to be satin stitch. She made cross stitch. I believe those were some of the changes that she made. But nonetheless, it is exquisite. And something that I aspire to do. So I'm going to insert this little piece in my FlossTube somewhere. So I just wanted to add that in. Thank you, Sally, for letting me share this. That's where I'm going to leave it today. Those are all of my plans. I do want to shout out a couple of new FlossTubers to me. Beth from Stitching in My Pajamas, or Stitching in Pajamas, is wonderful. She has the most beautiful projects that she works on, a lot of things, samplers that are just gorgeous. And she has a great calm spirit, and very, very nice to watch and hang out with while I stitch. I also love Katie from So Tattered. I know a lot of people are jumping on Katie's videos and really enjoying them. She is just great, and I commented, I think the first video, I said, you know, you're either stitching something I want to stitch, something I have in my plans to stitch, or I have stitched. It's like all of those things she stitches, and she does quilting too. And she and Olivia from Pumpkin Hollow Quilts are doing Jack's Bash by Plum Street, and I'm so tempted to get that kitted and start it. I've always wanted to stitch that, so it's on my radar. But I've got to finish some things first. Lady Huzzah is a new favorite of mine. She is got the most amazing stitching. Her last one that I watched had all the Mary Cox finish that she has done. She's taken a lot of classes and done a lot of finishing. So I thought, oh, I'm pretty good at finishing. Oh, she's really good. And it made me go down that whole Mary Cox rabbit hole of looking online and seeing if I could, get some kits, but not yet. I will though at some point, but check her out. I will link these people below. And I've been watching Stitching with Jane and Julie. I have to just tell you, I love them so much. Their stitching is great and I love their stitching, but their conversation together it's so fun to watch them talk. They're just so fun. And the last one, I have to say, just stop this video and go watch them immediately because they're awesome. I can't wait to binge watch all of their floss tubes. So those are my floss tube recommendations, and I will put them below as well. Well, it sounds like I've got a little puppy outside my door, so I'm going to wrap this up, and I'd like to say thank you for inviting me into your happy place, and I wish you many happy stitches and peaceful stitches until we meet again. Have a wonderful September, and I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.